there! There comes a time in every Minecrafter's gameplay that you have to learn to make big decisions. In today's video, I'm talking about your base. Past your initial dwelling, do you just spruce it up or leave it be? Maybe it was perfect the way you made it the first time. I personally obtained the elytra and built this house up here. Having since moved my storage downstairs, I've determined it's now time to relocate this house as well. So I'll be tearing down this, and this, and that. In their place, I will construct a new building that will encompass both functionalities. Starting with the house, and dear lord, I can't particularly remember if they were difficult to install. However, this glass was an absolute nightmare to remove. Once the glass was out of the way, the rest of the bricks were easy to hit off. Having decorated with moss blocks, removing them as a flooring option was tricky, given there's nothing underneath them. Though when I fall, I could just fly back. Easy. Probably the most tedious aspect aside from the glass was inventory management. Shulker boxes help. One of the biggest things of this remodels is I'll get to relocate the dragon egg. Oh, it'll still be there. Once I got down to the original pillar, it was time to cap off the iconic water block. From there, it was time to remove the original pillar platform and foundation underneath it, even down to the very diamond block that powered it and the metal bars holding it up. Finally the canopy, and then the roof.
Ta-da! It's gone.
And next goes this house. Originally, it was just a villager house and was the last one standing once I was done tearing down the village. I'd replace blocks with other blocks, but that's about it. I really only changed the outline at first, but eventually I'd lay the entire floor with just a good combination of deep slate blocks and the occasional copper block. The walls are mostly more of the same, but of course, I'll also use glass. First, I want the doors iron, so mobs can't break them down, with buttons and pressure plates to get in and out. These trees would get in my way during building, but I left them up for the atmosphere and foliage. This weird glasswork I'm doing here around the corners is disgusting, and I fixed it later. I capped it off with a glass ceiling so I can laugh at the phantoms, and then started filling it with stuff, like a bed, a memorabilia decoration, the dragon egg. Actually, something I changed later is this design, but it still incorporates the compass block. It doesn't look the greatest at first, because all the copper still has to oxidize. Now I'll have to get a shot of the egg from the outside. While I was AFK, it started thunderstorming, and my little forest area caught on fire. My biggest concern was not letting the fire spread, but mostly I was just going to eat the loss of the wood. Also, it appeared to continue thundering despite no longer raining. Somewhere, not just pissed off. Hello there. It's time to talk about Jesus again, unless you want to skip to this timestamp. I might even have chapters. At any rate, today's PSA is about patience. The Bible says that those who trust in the Lord will find new strength. They will soar high on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. You see, patience is a virtue. In fact, even Jesus had impeccable patience. For example, one day the scribes and Pharisees brought a woman up to Jesus and said, "Yo, we caught this lady in adultery and Moses said we have to kill her, but what do you say?" Jesus just ignores them, bends down to write stuff in the sand. They started asking again, so Jesus stands straight up and says, "He that is without sin among you, let him cast the first stone." And then he just bends down and keeps writing. By the time Jesus got back up, the guys had all scattered, and only she remained. Jesus asked her, "Where did all those guys go? Didn't some man condemn you?" She answered, "No man." And he goes, "Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more." You see, with patience and calm action, Jesus very easily remedied the situation. Jesus is the light of the world, and whoever follows him won't walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. I love you. Let's get back to the blog game for babies. After stopping as much of the last fires as I could, I started cleaning up some of the trees. Considering I now have to worry about forest fires, it's time to employ some lightning rods.
I don't know, I just need to be able to prevent more forest fires.
This simple cow crusher is one of the last original builds that need to be redone. This is going to be as simple as replacing the stone blocks with their deep slate counterparts. However, when that's done, it's time to unleash the flood of 1,000 sheep. I set these guys up as an addendum to get more wool, but now I just use the sheep farm, and by now I have too much wool to begin with. With the sheep cleaned up, I follow suit with the cows. Once the holes are ready to be filled, I began nudging cows. It took an awful lot of cow nudging, but I eventually filled all 4 holes with 2 cows each, just like Moses. Then I just killed the rest, because I'm not going to bother nudging them all back in. I have to run around and put the water blocks back underneath each set of cows, all which luckily occurs with no real problem. I also went around and slapped in some copper blocks for good measure. You never want to use too little copper blocks. The process of breeding the cows is very slow, but it helps to have a fairly sizable wheat farm with which you also keep up proper maintenance. In the meantime, I suppose I can bother cleaning up this congregation of corpses. With the scaffolding, the task becomes super simple. If you somehow haven't come across bamboo in your survival world yet, you should definitely consider doing so. Now, I definitely like how it looks when in use, and cleaning them up when you're doing so is such a breeze. Now that the floating remnants are removed, I can focus on the last bodies still standing. Finally free from forest fire I feasibly focus fully on foliage fortification. With everything cleared up, I can show all the wood I got from the fire. Who said arson can't be a good thing? I also noticed some copper I put out whenever ago had fully oxidized. This remodeling has honestly been a long time coming for me, and I think it looks great. I also won't have to fly around just to get to bed. Speaking of, I can probably destroy this and actually relocate its contents inside. It's true that Rome wasn't built in a day, as it's also true I'm not necessarily finished with building altogether. I've at least transformed the last original structures into a more on-point theme to their surroundings. And I guess I did not write an ending, but that's fine. I thank you very much for watching. I hope you made it to the end. I hope you like what I'm doing with the channel now and trying to keep video topics separate. Maybe someday I'll get around to making a whole ass new different channels for those subjects. But until then, it just ain't happening. But I digress. Thank you again so very much for watching, and I love you.